flossing with that
drop. KCP in the middle, bounce Larry in there. Throw that baby down. Oh my goodness.
Dwight Howard, are you kidding? With some anger.
Kyrie get out of that double team with the head fake. What a move by Hakeem Olajuwon.
Levine, he goes right.
Oh! Does anybody know how to post videos?
Yo, what's going on? Episode 15 of the Drop Step Podcast. Home team is not here, so I'll be running the point. Got your boy B-Dog right here.
It's your boy Houston. What's good, y'all?
What up, folks? You know, took the hook, holding it down.
Fellas, it's just the three of us this week, and we know what we're going to be talking about. Semifinals.
Okay, Round Deuce.
Semifinals of the Eastern and Western Conference NBA playoffs. And you know where we got to start. Let's start with the creme de la creme. Let's start out west, and let's start with the most exciting series, the one that people were looking forward to in the Dubs and the Rockets. Game 2 just took place pretty much last night, and Golden State goes up 2-0. The first two games have been pretty chippy. You know, a lot of foul calls, a lot of people complaining like the Rockets always do. You know, a lot of, dislocation of fingers, getting poked in the eye and bleeding everywhere. This series is pretty much some sort of bloodbath, basically.
I'll say it's been kind of physical, if you will. About them crying and stuff. Yeah, the Rockets hadn't really heard too much of it. I mean, Chris Paul has always been known to get into it with the refs a little bit. You haven't heard so much from James Harden. I have my reasons probably why not usually, because usually he's receiving those calls. But now that you're not getting them, now you want to complain and look back at old footage at referees to talk trash about how good or bad they just shouldn't call your games anymore. Man,
they want every call. I mean, every call. Every time they take a shot.
You got to admit, a couple of them that should have been called. I mean, there were a couple of threes where he was coming straight down, but instead of, how they used to do the one leg kick out, now he's doing both and landing, a foot in front of where he would start. So
I got a problem with that.
Just hearing y'all talk about or describe the series so far, man, it sound like my kids, sound like my boys. You got folks getting scratched in the eye, hurting fingers, crying, complaining, telling on this cat. Man, I swear that sound like my little boys all together in the same room together, man. It's
been catty, but at the same time, it's like you got stuff like KD still vouching for Harden's game, saying like he doesn't feel like it's nothing wrong with his game. He's not being, any type of threat or anything to what the NBA is. So, it's going both ways with it, but, yeah, it's just been weird. It's been weird.
I mean, he's had a couple points on. I was watching, just kind of going back. The cats are kind of, stepping in his circle. You got to give him room to land on his shot, and I think that coming off of game 1, hearing that was one of his bigger complaints, I actually agree with him. I mean, and he brought up Kawhi. That's a big circle book. I mean, but still, that is it. You have to give the man room to land. I mean, because that's preventing the injury, if nothing else. You have to give him room to land. That is his territory.
I'll give you room to land, but also don't try to make your room to land where I'm coming from, because I do have to close out.
Agreed.
You just don't want me to close out anymore? To close out, I got to be 3 feet back?
What you notice is a lot of cats nowadays, as they're closing out, they're not even looking at the shooter. They're literally looking at his feet and will go around him to make – I still got a hand up in the air, but my number one concern is making sure that I'm not intruding on where your feet are going to come down. Honestly, that's just common courtesy in basketball too.
Granted, I give it to you, yes. Are some of those fouls? Yes, they are, because some of – the defender, they're landing, obviously, like you said, in the landing spot of the shooter. You got to give the shooter time to come down because you don't want any ankles turning, any legs breaking and all that. But there are many times, and I was watching the game specifically for this, every time James Harden, there are numerous times he would go up and he would come down, his feet would land 2 feet or so in front of where he started to go up. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's an offensive foul.
And what's one thing that you teach somebody when they're shooting? When they jump up.
Straight up, straight down.
Straight up, straight down. So that's not what the game is.
I mean,
they're manipulating it, but then want to cry for a foul when you're manipulating it yourself. You can't have it both ways.
Here, I agree. I mean, it puts the referee in a position to have to do his job. I mean, because just like you said, you're supposed to go straight up, straight down and that puts it on the ref if you don't go straight up, straight down. Now you got to do your job as a referee. Are you calling that an offensive foul, or are you still calling that a defensive foul?
I think if they're looking at this as closely as they say that they are, they need to start looking at this and start calling offensive fouls, because I think at that point in time, you go from the Warriors starting to overthink about where my feet are landing to shifting it to the Rockets. Okay, I got to make sure I'm going straight up and coming straight down, because all that lunging into the defender trying to draw the foul, nah, we got to kill that, because that is annoying.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Like, guys kind of just that's kind of like you said earlier, guys kind of started out with the, shoot and kind of flail out the one leg and, you hit my leg, like, so that's a foul. But now it is getting ridiculous, But ultimately, I mean, there are 3 guys in the building that it's their sole job to make that determination, and it's the referees, So I get it, but at the same time, like, he's putting them in a position to have to do their job.
On the flip side, though, Game 2 was a lot better as far as the refereeing goes. I do like the fact that every coverage that I listen to or watch, it wasn't about the refs anymore. It really was just about the game. It was terrible that you had the injuries of Steph Curry. That finger looked horrible. That was disgusting looking. Like, to see the actual still photo of, it was the middle knuckle on his middle finger, and it was it just looked
Reggie
bad.
Miller been there, done that. I remember Reggie Miller used
pop
to
that finger back in, tape it up.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Yeah.
He taped it up. He kept trying to play through it, and you could tell his shot was off, and it was bothering him. But he figured it out. To my opinion, he kind of went Larry Bird with it, where Larry Bird tried to go just the whole game with just his left hand. He just went everything with his right, but without using the support of his left hand to shoot. And it was working for him.
And I think that, and as crazy as this may sound, it's weird because this might be the best thing for him, because one thing about a shooter is that, you may hurt your hand every now and then, you may dislocate, you may break a finger, and learning how to play with your fingers taped or your fingers wrapped can make you even a better player, because when you get yourself in a situation another time, it's like, okay, this ain't no thing. This is not going to affect me because I've been through this before. Kobe's had to do this numerous times. Kobe went from playing with a mask on his nose because he got it broken to having broken fingers and getting his fingers taped. You know what he did? Balled out.
Y'all need to Google athletes' hands, athletes' fingers, and see just how many of these basketball players, their fingers are so jacked up, while they're still playing, and then the years after, it's crazy. So he's going to be able to deal with it. He'll bounce back, and he still had a pretty decent game. One thing that we haven't mentioned, man, what's going on with KD?
No, I put it to you like this: KD did not have his. Are you talking about negatively, or are you talking about positive?
I'm talking about this boy is balling out.
Yeah, because yesterday in Game 2 he did not have his greatest game.
It wasn't the greatest game, but just
he played well.
Period. I feel like he's unlocked that code where it's like, oh yeah, really, you can't stop me.
Well, he's the most unstoppable offensive player in the league.
That's in the league right now, maybe so as far as today. I heard that conversation earlier too on what was it? I think it was on Get Out or something. They're talking about who's the most unstoppable player. Right now, maybe so, but you can't. I don't like that term unstoppable, because I leave that to the big guys, the guys who you really just can't stop from doing anything.
Well,
they're never in that
also
conversation.
Have left that reserved for LeBron, because who's outside of, even without a big man, who's been able to stop LeBron, especially as he goes to the basket?
Right.
Now, as far as offensive repertoire, I think KD is better than LeBron, because he's better from every aspect. He's been better from every aspect on the floor than LeBron.
He can put it in from anywhere on the floor. Right. So he's definitely better than LeBron, and I would say he's a better ball handler than LeBron. Even with having a few more inches in length on him, he still handles the ball a little bit better than what LeBron does. LeBron just kind of big, and to me, not necessarily fumbling around, but it's just a freight train coming, and the ball just goes with him. Yeah,
you can't. You talking about a guy that's literally 7 feet tall, obviously can put the ball on the floor, can do everything you need him to do, has a wingspan of about 7'6".
Right.
And every time he rises up to shoot, the fact in both series you see him rising up and shooting over everybody. He'll have a hand in his face, and they can't do anything about it.
I'm actually upset that it took him this long to really just go that route with it, because, dude, it's been this way. You've been able to rise up above everybody.
Well, he ain't been rising up for a minute, though.
But rely on that, though.
Who wants to rely on that?
Yeah, somebody? As a basketball player, you're taught to be, aggressive and not rely on your jump shot, regardless of how good it is. Like And I get what you're saying. You know, like you have a weapon in your tool belt that is damn near unstoppable as far as getting up over these guys and shooting it right over them. But who wants to rely on a jump shot when you're also, just like you said, 7'6" wingspan? Get it to the cup.
I mean, yeah, you could do that too, but I'd rather just have that wicked jump shot and be able to rise above everybody. Why? Because that's less pressure on my body. That's less physical. And I'm already, no disrespect, a string bean.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't need all that physical pressure that comes in the paint all the time when I know I'm 6 foot with a 6'7" wingspan and I can reach above anybody out there. Heck, he's taller than DeMarcus Cousins.
I think what comes into play also is the fact that he's now on Golden State. The fact that he has those other weapons around him to where it's not all like he can kind of highlight that portion of his game. Going back to OKC would have been, him and Russ being the focal points. He had to do a little bit more. You had to get in the paint a little bit more because we're more reliant on your total game. Right. Golden State, you can highlight just the jumpers and we'd be perfectly fine.
Well, it's the gift of versatility.
Right.
We always talk about wanting to attack the basket. You're right. You're going to attack the basket when you feel as though you need to, and he has. But he knows that I know my spots. And if I have somebody – I know I can back them down, but if I can turn around and rise above them and knock down this shot, that's not a problem too because I'm just as good at that. So I think when you have that level of versatility that he does, which not many players in NBA history have had, then you have those options, and that's just the luxury of it. I got a bone to pick with the Rockets.
Here we go.
I don't know how many air pumps.
Before you start, is it the Rockets or is it James Harden?
Well, is he not a part of the Rockets? let me get there. I'm trying to get somewhere. I don't know how many air pumps we have around the world. Ooh. But they got to be running out of air because all the basketballs in the world are running out of air. Ain't that much air in a basketball for one individual to be dribble. Oh, dribble. And I know this is their game. They've been playing like this for so long. This is who they are. The regular season got them to where they are, and why deviate from what you've done? But every time I see them come down the court, I see everybody else go to a corner and they just standing there. James, do your thing. James, dribble. I can't tell you how many times. It's a 24-second shot clock, right? Mm-hmm. He would be basically at the top of the key. It'd be 7 seconds left. Dribble. And you'd be in a basic violation of the shot clock almost every time, and then they would have to settle for the three. It's not like they would set the three up. They would settle for it. And I'm like, you're not going to win like that. You don't have any ball movement. You don't have any consistent. Now, is he going to hit some of them threes? Of course, because he's James Harden. He's an offensive machine.
But Buddy had 29 with no eyes.
I don't care. I don't care. Matter of fact, with both eyes as perfect as they been, he ain't been knocking down some shots consistently. He went 0 for 15 with 2 great eyes last series.
Yeah.
I say this, though. I know a lot of the playoffs becomes about pace and just kind of like shrinking the game down. Like Golden State wants to run. The crazy thing is, like Golden State, they can play half court basketball. They can play full.
I was about to say they do it all, and they're on defense. Absolutely.
So they're the one team. Actually, I won't even say the one team because I think Denver does a really good job at that too, full court and half court basketball. Most of the other teams that are left in the playoffs right now, they're either a full court team, like want to get out and run, or they want to set up half court offense. A lot of what I think the Rockets are doing right now is to just take one of the two away from Golden State. At this point, with them taking so much time off the clock, if they hit those shots, it's a lot slower of a game. Like if I milk the clock, get up a 3, hit my 3, then you're walking back up the court on your next possession.
Right.
So it shrinks the game. Like, so I get what they're doing, but you're rolling the dice and you got to hit them shots eventually if that's going to be.
Because there are a lot of times where they don't hit those shots.
And then Golden State takes off running with that rebound,
right,
and it's a quick 2.
So that gets straight to my point why I'd say this series ain't nowhere near over because they're not hitting them shots.
Who?
The Rockets. They haven't been hitting them shots, and I'm just waiting for them to wake up. Eric Gordon will sit there and go 0 for 6 real quick, and then all of a sudden hit 3 straight. And the whole time you're looking at the game, it's like, hold up, they're still only down by 7. Dang, they're really only down by 10. Oh, shoot, they just hit another 3 to put them down by 6, right? That's happening the whole game. So what do we expect really when it comes to the playoffs? You hope that in the first 2 games, the away team is going to be able to steal one. If not, the home team walks away 2-0. Well, that's what just happened. When you get on to the other side, when you get to this third coast and you bring yourself down to Houston, hopefully that crowd and whatever comes within the home energy and aura of being at home is going to wake these boys up, wake those shots up. You're looking at possibly an even series going back to Golden State.
But see, I don't think it'll be an even series going. I think
so. Golden State's going to steal
I think Golden
one.
State steals Game 4 because I think when you have a team who has this winning pedigree, and you have the guys that you have, and they know, look, we know what we can do, and we know what we need to do to get to the next round and get to our ultimate goal. They know how to. Golden State knows how to flip that switch when their back is against the wall, or for whatever you want to consider as back is against the wall. They know how to hit that switch.
They haven't been there,
right? But what I'm saying is, no. But what I'm saying is, in their what they look at as back up against the wall. Like for instance, if they're only up by 6, if the Rockets have cut the lead, how many times have we seen Golden State flip that switch and the lead is back to 15?
Of course.
True.
That's what they do.
More often than not.
Exactly. So my thing is just because of that, I see them being able to do what the Rockets couldn't do in Golden State, and that's still a game on the road because of who they are and because of what we know that they can do.
I just think it's going to come down to Game 6 is when they get the game on the road. I think Houston go take care of business at home like they're supposed to. There's no way they're winning the Oracle. I think that's part of what Golden State is really wanting to do here is like we're not going to lose at home. So you go back Game 5 and lose to the Warriors there. Game 6 you come back in and that's when it's over.
I'm going to tell you real quick why this entire series is over. I don't know if it'll go 6 games. I don't know if it'll go 7 games. But Golden State is going to win this series because if nothing else, it's about getting easy shots. Like easy shots. The more easy shots you can get and make, the better. Who's the person on Houston that gets and makes easy shots?
Ain't one.
It's not like Clint Capella gets easy shots set up for him by James Harden, but those are the easiest shots that they can come.
And those shots have to be set up for him.
Right. But that's as easy as it comes for them. Now take Golden State. They may not be easy shots, but Kevin Durant can get in the paint at any time he wants to. That's an easy shot. And those can come with much more frequency than a Clint Capella easy shot for the other side. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to they're going to be able to score at will for a long time against these.
I'm with you. I think this series is over too, but I think I don't know if it's going to go 5-6 or whatever, but I'm with you. The Dubs are going to take this. So let's slide over to the East Coast. We're gonna let's look at the Bucks and the Celtics series. The Bucks pretty much got embarrassed on their home floor in Game 1. I don't know what I'm looking at that game like.
I was embarrassed.
It wasn't ready.
I'm like,
it wasn't ready.
So I said, okay, you got Game 2. Game 2 is you know what you have to do because if you go down 0-2, not only would they lose this series, they'll probably get swept going into Boston.
Right.
So they came out and put their foot down in Game 2. Giannis looked like Giannis, had 29 and 10, I believe. Mm-hmm. And this series is tied 1-1 going into Boston. I still have the Bucks winning this series. I'm a little concerned though because I feel as though when you have your first 2 at home, you need to do everything you possibly can, especially as a new team relatively in the playoffs, to cross all your T's and dot all your I's and take care of your business at home. You have to defend home court when you're new to this, basically.
This is my thing with the Bucks. Other than that game on Sunday, that's the first sign of any type of vulnerability that the Bucks have shown all playoffs. They ran through Detroit, ran into that one game. Yeah, okay. But then they turned around and did it again against Boston. So what I'm saying is I've got much more, even based on taking that input of the game on Sunday, I still have 5 games versus that one game of vulnerability, to say what I'm going to say as far as the Bucks still wrapping this thing up. I just think that, again, coming down to easy shots, the Bucks are gonna get way easier shots. Like there's not an easy shot maker for Boston. Giannis, granted, they're doing a really good job of keeping him out of the paint, but I think it comes down to two stats in Milwaukee against Boston. It's going to be fast break points, because both of these teams like to get out and run on the fast break, and then points in the paint. Like whichever one's going to be able to get their money down there by the bucket.
I'll say this in favor of the Celtics. Game one thing that was amazing is Kyrie being able to get into the lane at will.
Yeah.
His ability to either get to the basket or hit you with that stop floater. And he hit him with that floater to death in game one. I mean, every time he came down, if he couldn't get to the basket, I'm gonna stop and hit this floater. Got him on the block, turn around and hit that turnaround jump shot that Kobe's famous for.
A nasty post game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For a guy his size, he has a nasty post. And I was looking at it like, bruh, y'all are really the fact Giannis couldn't get in the paint game one. Kyrie could get into the paint at will, and they had nobody who could really slow him down. Now, game two, the coin was kind of flipped. Kyrie was looking like, because I think he only had like 7 points.
Yeah, 9 points. And you're right. Kyrie's game two, it was off. But to me, that's what says, like, Kyrie is the real X factor to this whole thing, because you can't tell me that somebody's going to score 20-plus and 8 assists. His assists are going to always be around the same. But how much is he putting up in points? And when his field goal percentage in game one is like 50, and then his field goal percentage in game two is 22, there's your biggest difference in the game. And then also Middleton. Did anybody see him scoring, almost 30?
Well,
28, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it throughout the year.
I think he averages 21.
Yeah, he was an all-star for a reason.
He averages about 20, 21. So he gives you this game right here. So I think those are the two biggest X factors. And like I said, sense of urgency. The Bucks knew they needed to win game two. There's no way you walk out of there 0-2. You have to win that game.
But let me ask you, I mean, if you take Giannis and you take Kyrie out of the series, who has the better remaining supporting cast, Boston or Milwaukee?
I think the Celtics do.
Okay. And I think that Milwaukee does. And I think that's exactly where it boils down to is, like, who's going to be the people to step up. I think in theory, Boston has more talent. But I think in more, as far as production this year, I think it goes to Milwaukee.
Well, I would disagree. Even though we agree on who we have winning the series, I disagree with that.
Okay,
for the simple fact of what we saw last year. When you have when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward was out, we saw what that team could do when they came together.
Yeah,
right.
With Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, Jason Tatum, and you had Al Horford there as the veteran. I think if you were to have either one of Gordon or Kyrie to go down, or both, I think the Celtics would still have a level of confidence as we're like, guys, we've been here before without these two.
Right.
We came within one game of getting to the NBA Finals without these two. There is no need to panic. We can still win this series. So I think they will still have some level of confidence because of where they've been.
I think the defense is going to play the other big factor in it. I think the Celtics defensively, as long as they're able to get hold down the supporting cast, like I said, Middleton cannot go off for another game of 25-plus. If they're able to stop that type of thing from happening, then they're going to be fine because, Giannis is still going to get you close to 30 every night.
When I tell you that Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, and Jason Tatum combined for 19 points, that's a loss.
Oh, that's a big loss.
Automatic loss.
That's a big loss.
Like, and then the thing is, like, even if you give Kyrie his, if you can't anticipate anything from Tatum or Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown chipped in with 16 points, but if you can't get anything out of that surrounding role, like, that's where this series is made and lost. Yesterday,
so you think they'll do that again?
What's that?
You think it'll be that same way again? You think they're going to –
I don't think
especially now going to Boston, you think that those same key players that you're talking about are going to come in there and only give you 19 points?
I've seen them do it before. Like, I've seen them – this isn't the first occasion this year that they've just shrunk up and didn't show up. I mean That's why I haven't been high on Boston all year. I kind of just been watching my clock, like, they're going to show up eventually. And then it got to the point where these cats really ain't gonna show up, so I started to lose belief.
It was a lack of urgency. You could see it like when Kyrie's coming down the court and he's trying to dribble between 2-3 defenders and loses off of somebody else's leg. What is he doing at the end of the play when it's a fast break?
It's a lack of trust.
He's walking all the way down. Dude, you're the second, third defender to get back to stop that corner three. But yet you walking down, and now here comes Jaylen Brown trying to run it down. Like, to me, that's what's going to lose the game when you just feel like, I think they had that sense of confidence that we did what we needed to do. We took one from them.
I text my homeboys this morning. I told them that Giannis has the most killer instinct of any player in this series.
Right.
I think that along with the role players, ultimately decides this series.
And I think you're going to have another game where you're going to see Chris Middleton go for 25 because his ability to spread the floor and shoot the ball. I mean, he didn't shoot. We shot 44% from three. His ability to spread the floor, and if Giannis is able to get into the lane and then kick out like he wants to, hey, I don't see why Middleton can't be the factor that I expect him to be in this series. He's an all-star for a reason.
This series is going to get a lot more physical over the next few games, and I want to see how tough, because Giannis brought this up after game one, and he showed it in game two. How tough are they really going to be able to be as the series gets longer? That Horford is pushing them around. You know what I'm saying? Even Marcus Smart, when he get on him a little bit, or whenever whoever gets on him, they're pushing Giannis around a little bit. Wait till that starts to wear on him a little bit. How is he going to do when the series goes 6, possibly 7 games?
I think that ends up.
That's where I think that killer instinct. That's where I think Kyrie's going to be the one to take it over because he's actually been there and done that in that same scenario. So he already knows what it takes and the fortitude is going to be to really knock you down in that moment. I don't think Giannis has developed that yet. I don't think he's strong enough yet, really.
This is where I think exactly what you said is their blueprint. You know what? We're going to have to turn to Kyrie. Kyrie's been here. Kyrie's done this. Let's turn our heads to Kyrie. But when Kyrie realizes that, like, Kyrie shows his frustration. Like, Kyrie wears his heart on his sleeve.
Definitely
like, he doesn't hide his emotions well whatsoever for an NBA player. When they start to panic, when he starts to panic, the entire team does. Kyrie wasn't here last year. So I think that it's really difficult for you to, just like you said, like, to turn your heads and look at him as the leader when we made it past this point last year without you.
And
so
Gordon Hayward.
Right. So how do we turn to you to get your killer instinct when we did this on our own last year?
Because you still haven't gotten to the mountaintop without me. I still know what that feels like. I know what it looks like to look down on the rest of the league and say, I stand here a champion and made a game-winning shot, right? I've done that. You haven't done that yet. So you're still going to want to listen to the guy who's coming over here with the signature shoe deal.
True, and I do agree with that. But then on the flip side, I think that those young guys also have the confidence in knowing that they could get there because of how close they were last year. It's about growth.
Then you keep that confidence and you bring it to the table with Kyrie. You don't just say, oh, well, we don't really need you because we did it without you.
I think it breaks them apart.
Well, that's the thing. That's where the maturity factor is going to come in, and that's where I think Brad Stevens is going to have to make sure he's playing this big factor as far as make sure these guys still stay meshed together.
Because
it has been a rocky road all season. It's been a roller coaster all season long. Get that, but
adding 2 All-Stars has been a rocky road.
Yeah, but you expect that with egos. I mean, we say the same thing about Golden State. If they happen to go on a little bit of losing streak, now we're selling everybody off,
but the difference between Golden State is all of them are selfless. Everybody is selfless on that team. That team was built on selflessness. That's why the ball moves so well. The reason why the ball moves so well on that team is, yes, those guys may have egos because they're stars, but they understand that we have to play together in order to accomplish the main goal. That's been the premise of that team ever since they were built.
Yeah, but they also built it with the best shooters in the game, and
okay,
so
true.
Yes, it's a lot easier to trust that I could pass the ball off here, and with 1 second left, whoever shoots it is going to get a good shot off.
True.
That's a veteran team that has all the veteran pieces of 4 or 5 All-Stars, whatever they suit up.
Right.
Against a team that is still full of young boys and egos that said, hey, we can do this without our main piece. That's the difference in the team.
But that team wasn't all. But even when they first started and they were coming into their own as young guys, they were still selfless. I think they're just selfless guys. Like Steph is a selfless guy. Clay is a selfless. Like those guys are just selfless.
They were coming from humble beginnings though too.
So my thing is those things were instilled in them to where it's like, okay, we're not going to let these egos get into the way of our common goal. I understand you're a great shooter. I'm a great shooter. We got KD over here. We got Draymond playing the bad guy. We got all these guys playing their roles, and we're going to mix all this together, and it's turned into 3 championships in 4 years, and guess what? We're about to get our 4th and the 5th.
Okay, touche. All right.
All right, well, we're gonna slide back over to the West, really, and we're gonna go to the series where it's okay. It's not the most appealing series, but it's something that
one game.
No, but I'm talking about from a team standpoint. Like, it's not Golden State and Houston. It's, as far as appealing, I'm not saying it's not good.
You got the next tier of star power on this one. Yeah.
And we're talking about
that's
Denver.
disrespectful. Dame Dollar is not next tier. Come on, man.
I get it, but Dame Dollar is still just one
Dame
guy.
is next tier to Steph, KD. Dame is next tier. Like, Dame may not want it. Dame just made his first All-Star team a couple years ago.
Not his fault.
We're talking about Denver and Portland.
But that's kind of what qualifies as next tier, though.
All right, off on the 10. Go ahead.
We're going to spade a spade.
We're going to slide into Denver and Portland. Denver pretty much handled business in game 1, what you expected them to do on their floor. The Joker is, when it comes to big man, he's mastered every aspect of the game that a lot of guards have not mastered. The ability to see the floor the way he does, his passing ability, his ability to rebound, and obviously his ability to score. And a lot of people say, is he the best big man in the game right now?
Boy's a beast.
Do you think he's the best big man in the game?
Well, I mean, if we could see what DeMarcus Cousins was doing in these playoffs, then I'd have a conversation with you about that. But since I'm looking at what I'm looking at,
big man in the game?
He's probably the most. Yes, he's the most complete big man in the game right now. Yes, yeah.
If you're talking 2019 basketball, the way that basketball is played today, he is the best big man in the game.
Still a little soft down in the post.
It don't matter though. I mean, look at Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that is the softest 7 foot I've ever seen.
I don't want to get into Karl Anthony Towns because he don't have to be that soft. I don't understand why he is.
We're talking playoffs. Get off him.
Good call. He ain't earned his right into this.
We'll come back to that, but that makes me upset for some reason.
I like the Joker because there's not a single thing that he does badly. Like, there's nothing that he does bad. He does a lot of things great. He does a lot of things good, but you can't find nothing that he does bad. I guess Joel Embiid would probably be my number 2 best big man in the league. The only reason I can go Joker over Embiid is going to be the long term, like the health. The health. I think Joker, he's positioned himself and he plays a game that by being somewhat soft. Like, if I'm soft, that just means, I mean, it don't hurt as hard when you hit me, Like, I mean, being true, so him being a little bit softer actually plays a little bit better to his game and the longevity of things.
Well, that's the foreign touch to it.
Exactly.
He plays with the big man who has the skill set of a guard because that's what they teach overseas. Right. We say that about Kristaps Porzingis, when he's on the floor. His ability to have that game like a guard because that's what they teach wherever they're from. I really think I'm not sure about this series because I want to roll with Portland, but Denver is just, I mean, from Jamal Murray, the way that he is balling, I don't know.
Every time I see
Jamal,
no. I'm sorry, this is a quick tangent. Every time I see Jamal Murray ball out, I get so mad at the Hawks because the Hawks should have traded Paul Millsap to the Nuggets when they knew he wanted to go to the Nuggets.
Right.
And Jamal Murray was a rookie. that year we should have had Jamal Murray back in that trade. I'm sorry, but that's an inside thing. My bad, man. Go ahead. I love seeing him play, man. Like I really like Buddy's game, man. He's gonna be something serious.
I had to look up and like, hold up, Jamal, man, he really is balling. Like, he really can ball. Like, okay, and he's consistent with it. Like, that's the thing about it. I didn't realize he really was the second face of that franchise until the playoffs came around. I just hadn't been paying too much attention to Denver. Like I said, I always thought they were fool's gold.
And speaking of Hawks, we talk about an old Hawk who's really been balling in this series, and Paul Millsap, how he has been bodying folks down there on that post. Like, dudes really be too little down there who are on him, because either he'll just break them down and pound them in the post, or he'll just turn around with the little floater and lay it in. They can't do anything with that man.
He works so well with the Joker because they space each other out. Because they can, I mean, quiet as kept, Paul Millsap has some of the same attributes in his game that the Joker does, just in a different shape and different size package. So they complement each other really well. Joker, you can kind of post up or get out here, let Paul go to work down there, and then ain't nobody to defend it because Paul's too big and muscling his guy up too much. So they work real well together.
This series is really showing that Denver, for one, is for real at this point, and I can't wait to really see them in the Western Conference Finals, and also the weaknesses that Portland still has. The Mama's boys, CJ and Damian, they're going to be fine. But what in the world do y'all have going on in the paint? There's nothing down there to really stop what Joker can.
And the crazy part about it is that's what they brought in Enes Kanter for.
Right.
That's what they were supposed to bring him in for.
And doing okay, but, I mean, no, you're really not going to be relevant down there. And you have nobody else big enough to really handle Joker and Paul Millsap. You know, what's the guy? I can never say his name right. Al Farouk.
He was wasn't he in Houston?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the dude that was in Houston? No, that wasn't the dude that was
Luke Paul.
That's right. One the names we can't pronounce.
Right, exactly.
Aminu from Southwest Gwinnett, I think, or South Gwinnett.
Shouts.
He's from the A.
But so, like, they're not going to be able to show up in this series because it's just too much down on the front line for Denver. That's where the weakness is going to come in at, and it doesn't matter what Damian Lillard is going to be able to do, because you do have somebody like Jamal Murray on the other end who's going to be able to kind of even things out as far as numbers wise. I thought coming into this series, Portland would probably get it in 5 or 6, and now I'm sitting there looking like,
Denver's deep.
You really thought at first they were
like
winning
I
5 or
said,
6?
I admit, I was sleeping on what Denver could do. I've been calling them fool's gold all season.
You know, one thing that I want to touch on real quick, just based on the quick Jamal Murray comments that we were throwing out there, I think that the NBA has, as you kind of see, Jamal Murray's in his 4th or 5th year now.
Yeah.
So it's taken him this long to like find his way in the NBA and to turn into what he's turned into. You know, I'm really looking forward to the NBA kind of going back to this or going with the rule change, because it's kind of mixed in developmental players with NBA players, if you know what I mean. Like, it takes these guys like extra time. Like, you come out 1 year as a freshman, like trying to jump straight to the league, it's a real small percentage of cats that can do that. It takes a little bit of time, and you can see what giving time and actually developing these guys, like what they can turn into. So I really like watching Jamal. I say all that just to say I've liked watching Jamal Murray kind of just like grow and like turn into what he's kind of turning into. So it'll be some more cats out there, but for every Jamal Murray that you get that kind of flourishes and takes a little bit of time, like you get those guys that are highly touted and then just make it and fall off.
Do the Trailblazers have a shot of grabbing Game 2 in Denver?
Yeah. I say absolutely.
Do you think they'll grab Game 2 in Denver?
This one works out for me. Like, they have to find a third scoring option. Like, they have to figure out who's going to be the guy. Like, who's going to – like, it's Dame, it's CJ, and you got a question mark. Like, who's going to, like, on a nightly basis, you can't tell me the third leading scorer for Portland is going to be fill in the blank. It's not a consistent thing. So I think that's where the question mark comes in. If they can find somebody and that third person goes off and has them a Chris Middleton type game, then absolutely they can win. But
it's been like that for quite some time now.
I agree.
Where it's been the backcourt or none. And I think they need another wing, a guy who can rotate between the 3 or the 4 and can put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. They got a lot of big men who can run the floor. You can throw the alley to.
Right.
but they don't have a lot of guys who can literally create their own shot and get stuff for themselves and actually pose a threat. So it's going to be interesting. That team is built kind of weird in a sense.
Very weird.
Because they got the back. Okay, we got our leaders, we got our backcourt, but that front court and your wing players, they need some work. They need a little bit of work. All right, let's slide back to the east side. Toronto and Philly. Philly was able to pull one out game 2, tie this series up at 1. I still got Toronto winning this series. I don't think Philly can consistently put enough games together where they could pull this out. All that is contingent upon, once again, the health of Joel Embiid and how consistent can Ben Simmons be in this year. Because Ben Simmons can't have a 7-point and 9-rebound game, especially if you don't know how healthy Joel Embiid is going to be, which goes back to what I was saying. Hey, in the offseason, you better work on that jump shot.
Yeah.
You better work on it, because that's another thing you're going to have in your repertoire that teams are going to have to respect, because everybody know you're going to want to go to the basket, and you can. But your development as an NBA player to go from being good to great depends on it.
I heard this earlier. The biggest problem with with the Sixers and that combination of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid is the fact that they're really complete opposite game plans for each player. When it's Ben Simmons on the floor without Embiid, he can run the floor because that's what he's used to. He likes to get out in transition. He likes to push it and get down there and then be able to kick out. But when Embiid is in the game, you can't run the floor with that big man because he's not going to run the floor. So the game slows down, and now you're dishing it down to the big man. But when he gets double-teamed and he has to kick it back out to you, we can't rely on you for that jumper like B-Dog's been saying for weeks now. So, yeah, it was a good little win, and we're not talking about the actual, star of the game, Jimmy Butler, but that dynamic shows me that it's still Toronto's series to lose at this point. As long as Kawhi gets enough help from, Kyle Lowry and, the bench players and Danny Green steps up and he's making his shots, they're going to be fine to at least make it out of this series.
Because that bad man Kawhi on the other side, I'm all right.
Yeah, like they forgot about Kawhi.
Because folk think fire ain't hot.
Hey, bro, what's crazy? Hearing you talk about Embiid and Ben Simmons, it's almost funny. You almost wish that Embiid had Ben Simmons' game and Ben Simmons had Embiid's game.
I know.
The team would almost they'd be better in that sense if they had each other's skill sets.
Right.
It'd be so much better because then you get Embiid not having to attempt. Granted, he makes threes, but I would rather Ben Simmons be making them threes, Embiid not even attempting them, and Embiid in the paint.
Right, because if my big man can't hit a three, I'm like,
okay.
Yeah, whatever.
It's just crazy. When I thought about that, that would work better than what they got working right now.
Yeah. It's not that I need him to be a knock-down three-point shooter. I need you to be respectable. Yeah. I don't need the defender looking at you. Man, go ahead and take that shot. That's disrespectful.
They respect Giannis's jumper. Giannis has a threat. Great. He has a threat of a jumper.
Right.
And that alone gets him, him hitting one three-pointer in a game will at least allow him to get to the paint 2 more times. He makes one from outside, that's going to go ahead and change their game plan to where they play him a tad bit tighter to where he's then going to be able to get in the paint. Ben Simmons can't get in the paint because he's got no threat of anything from outside. If it's a half-court game, it's nothing.
And then even the thing with Giannis, even though he's respectable from three, you never know. Him hitting that three gives him the confidence to hit another one. And you never know. He could have hit 3-4 in a row, and that's really got him going to really take advantage of each aspect of his game. It's okay, now I'm in a rhythm, and I know you can't stop me. You can't do anything about it.
I don't think that this series – to use one of your phrases, Houston, I think this one was fool's gold. The Philly stealing one from Toronto. I think Toronto is built to be able to manhandle. You see everything that Philly had to give in order to win that game. They had to be hitting on all cylinders. Everything had to click. They had to get, production from all 3 of their cats, from Butler to Embiid and Ben Simmons. So I don't know that they get that. Toronto doesn't need that much. Like, Toronto got Kawhi. Like, you see what Kawhi is going. He's on a madman stretch right now. So,
really, they've also shown that they, like I said, they don't need Kyle Lowry to be the best Kyle Lowry ever. He could still have a game where he scores 8-9 points, and they'll still be okay. They can still get a W out of it.
I don't need too many games like that.
But yeah, you don't want to test that theory too often.
No.
But it can still be done. They still have enough other pieces around that they can still get it done. And just the maturity of the team alone is going to be able to take them through the long haul.
I mean, I don't think. But to be honest, I don't even know about that. I don't need him having 8 to 9 points. I need him in double-digit points.
That's what you want, but
no, that's what I need.
You know what? Honestly, if I could have my choice of to whether Kyle Lowry had double-digit points or double-digit assists, like, give me the assist.
Give me the
assist.
assist.
Because that means that he's rolling, and he's in a rhythm to be able to dish them assists out, number one. Number two, I would imagine a good chunk of those assists are going to Kawhi, which means he's rolling. And then number three, if that's the case, somebody else is going to be able to feed off of that as well. So I think in years past, DeRozan wasn't enough of a high caliber anytime quarter 1 through 4 type of scorer to where, like, he needed more from DeRozan. From Kyle Lowry.
Right.
With having Kawhi out there, give me the ball, bro. Like, give me the ball. I'll let you know when I need you to chip in. Like seriously, that's what Kawhi got going right now, man. Like, dude is in his zone. Like, I love it. I'm mad they lost the other night, but, like, I think he's gonna take these cats to the NBA Finals. Real talk.
This series is over in how many games?
6 max.
Ooh, yeah. No, it might go 5.
So it goes 5.
No, I'm just playing. It'll be 6.
Okay. I mean, 5 or 6. I just think it's another growth year for Philly. They take this L. Now, on the flip side, for some reason, and we've seen stranger things happen, if Toronto does not win this series, I'll never believe in the Raptors ever again.
No, this is definitely my first time ever going all in on the Raptors. I just believe that strongly in Kawhi.
But regardless of what they've had a couple of good regular seasons where they've been really good, and they've had the opportunity of taking certain games that they didn't take or get certain games that they needed to get and they didn't get it. And they'll really start to like fool's goal of the NBA. All right. That's just me. But
before we even wrap this up, I do want to give a shout out to the Hawks. We didn't do it last week.
Oh,
Coach Pierce.
Coach Pierce being selected as assistant coach to the NBA,
to the USA basketball team.
Right. That's
19-20 through 20 season. So he'll be
big.
That's a good look.
He'll be with him for the Summer Olympics.
That's a good look.
Rub elbows with KD and them folks.
All right, and then also, look, go ahead and bring some of that USA talent back to the A. But also on that note, as far as talent staying with the A, Vince Carter just said that he is trying to come back for his 22nd season, which is going to be an NBA record. Mm-hmm. So, and then next thing you know, Trae Young puts out a post saying, come on back. We need to run it back. How about that? I know how you feel about this book. You're with me. I'd love to see Vince Carter come back.
No, I'd like to see him back too. I just wonder if it's actually going to happen.
Man, I don't see why not. I like everybody talks about the amount of
why not. Just based on Vince Carter has a role in the league. Vince Carter's been on, I think, 3 different teams in the last 3 seasons: the Hawks, Memphis Grizzlies, and Sacramento Kings. His role on all 3 teams was the exact same, just almost a youth pastor to a certain extent. Just keep these cats in line, Vince. Give us some points, give us some production out there when you can and when you will, and that's just gravy on top. But a lot of teams need that. Like, it's almost he's been a traveling youth pastor for the last few seasons. So I can see a scenario where somebody else pays him more than the Hawks are willing to pay him, to where he can come in and groom their young cats like he did.
He can come back to Atlanta to work at Turner when he's done. No one said he can't do that.
I want him back. I absolutely want him back. You asked if there was a scenario where he does or why he wouldn't. I think that's the scenario.
I just think the odds weigh more in the Hawks' favor than anybody else's, because even outside of the money, because I don't think money's an issue. Like I said, it's 22nd year in the league.
Good call.
I don't think that the money's going to be an issue for him. And even for the Hawks, it's not like he's going to go that deep into our salary cap, so us paying him isn't going to be that big of an issue. the city for what it is and the attention that we're trying to bring down here, I think it bodes well for us to go ahead and keep him around for that historic season, because all eyes will be on him as he makes that trek. So I think it benefits us, and so I'm hoping the front office looks at that, as well as his tutelage to those, being the youth pastor, like you said, and his tutelage to the young guys that he's got going on out there. Why not give that one more year to one team and then see how that team actually pushes forward after it? You going around doing it with, who'd you say, Memphis and Sacramento
and Dallas.
It was Dallas before that.
Yeah.
Outside of Dallas, and that's because of the changes they've made since he's been gone. What are any of those other teams doing with their young talent to really say?
Phoenix for a year too, matter of fact.
Right.
Yeah, so I would love to see him come back and, if nothing else, just see it through. Like, you already saw what we're trying to build, similar to how you saw it with these other teams, but you can see that we're kind of moving or trying to take this thing to another step. So why not stick around and be here for that step? I think that's the pitch.
Maybe a front office position down the line afterwards too.
Well, we'll definitely see what the future holds for Vince Carter, and we'll also see how the rest of these NBA playoff semifinal rounds play out. I'm really just looking at this Western Conference, because this Houston and this Golden State series got me really going, especially the way Houston plays, but we've already talked about that.
These 10:30 start times killing me.
Hey, I'm staying up because I also want to see Kenny, Shaq, and all them guys act up on TNT.
Man,
so I'm
speaking of
staying
Shaq, man, shout out to Shaq and
the
Shaq Food Radio podcast.
Always shout out to the people over at Shaq Food Radio.
Yeah.
Listen to us on the Shaq Food Radio app, ShaqFoodRadio.com. Catch us every Wednesday at 9 p.m. and the replay on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that does it for the Drop Step Podcast, episode 15. We are out.
Peace.
Already. Make sure you comment, rate, and subscribe to the Drop Step Podcast on Apple Podcasts for iPhone users and Podbean for Android devices. You can also hear the podcast on Wednesdays and Saturday nights on the Shaq Food Radio app.